Hello everyone, we are back with more traffic content for the Tatsugiri Sushi League as the coach of my team, the Cheerful Coordinates. For week 2 we are facing Fluvyx of the Fluffy Flareons. The team Fluvyx is using is pretty interesting because first of all there's threats like, Urshifu, Latias can set up and get out of control. Tera Driflim is pretty good as well. Tera Snorlax can also spiral out of control. And defensively, there is Wisin, who is very annoying to deal with, Registeel, who is very bulky, and it's pretty interesting that Registeel's weaknesses are very well covered by the rest of the team as well. And there is Daxbone, who completely walls Captain Fire as well. Fluvyx's Tera captains are Rotomao with Tera Electric, Ice and Steel, Snorlax with Normal, Ghost and Ground, and Driflim with Ghost, Flying and Fighting. A pretty interesting matchup. In general, the team has very good momentum and is very difficult to break through. So this is gonna be difficult, but I think we can get this done. We're starting off with our dedicated lead by Flotion, who has Frisky in order to get information on the item my opponent has. We are likely to see Rotom, Slowking, or Swampert leads, and the two former will prefer to switch out into the later. So we're running Power Herb Solar Beam in order to surprise and hopefully KO Swampert with it. Flamethrower isn't the best move in this matchup, but is the best way to reliably hit Registeel. Wisp to hopefully burn Snorlax or even Urshifu, though I doubt that since it's faster than Typhlosion. And finally Sunny Day, which is weird to have with Power Herb Solar Beam, but I want to keep Sunny Day until after I've used the herb on Swampert, and it will allow me to set up a scene for my next mon. Enter Watching, with leftovers and max physical buff and Tera Fairy to take on Urshifu's hits. Watching praises the sun for his growth, getting a +2 to his special attack instead of +1. Dark Pulse hits nearly everything in Fluvyx's team, only being resisted by Daxbone and Urshifu, both of which get hit really hard by a +2 Giga Drain, which translates into more healing. Then we have Sunny Day in case Typhlosion makes an unfortunate end too early. Now we have fully physically defensive Skarmory to set up spikes, punishing their team's momentum and getting important chip damage to help secure chaos. Rocky Helmet and Roost allow me to take on and punish physical hits from Urshifu, Registeel, Snorlax or Daxbone, even Swampert if it's still alive and wants to flip him. And because last season I learned not to underestimate Registeel, shout out to Super Dolphin, we have Whirlwind to send it out in case they want to set up. As for special hits, we have fully specially defensive Primarina with leftovers. This team is really good at resisting Primarina's hits, so I opted for sacrificing offensive power, only running Moonblast in case of Urshifu and Flip Turn for momentum, and Wendy with dual screens instead to help me set up more safely. And speaking of setup, we also have Espeon with Tera Fighting and a Citrus Berry to keep it healthy while it boosts itself up with Calm Mind. As that boosted store power is always great and hits very hard, the Draining Kiss allows me to get some health back after consuming the berry, and Tera Blast Tera Fighting is there in case Registeel is still alive and wants to come in to try and tank our hits. The speed allows me to outspeed Jolly or Shifu, just in case, allowing me to get some EVs into health. But wait, there is more. We're also running a third setup mod in none other than Sarina, which is weird at first since she doesn't have really a boosting move, but what she does have is a Mirror Herb, which allows me to copy the +2 attack from using Swagger on a Pokemon like Rotom, Driflim or Latias. Rapid Spin helps not only with removing hazards, but also in setting up further outspeeding non-Scarf users after only one spin. Triple Axle allows me to deal with the 3 mentionals after setting up, and with High Jump Kick, the Queen can nuke the shit out of Urshifu, Registeel, Snorlax, and Tera Steel Rotom. Overall, the idea is to put pressure with Typhlosion on turn 1, then setting up hazards and the conditions for one of my settlements to start doing numbers to break through the team, having not necessarily one win condition, but rather everyone on the team putting their part. And that's gonna be the theme for this week. Remember, if you like the video, give a like to let me know, comment if you have anything you want to share, subscribe if you want to see more content, and if you want to message me on Discord, my tag is on the screen and in the description down below. But let's not waste any more time and let's jump into the game, baby! Right, so a lot of shit happened, both personal life and in the game, so I'm gonna have to divert from how I usually do things, and instead of going through the match, I'm gonna have to do a little post-commentary on this one. Yeah, a couple things happened, but you'll see it through the match. We're gonna start. So turn 1 we do see the Slowking lead, and as my plan was, I lead with Typhlosion to Frisk to get some information, and to put pressure from the very first turn. Something interesting is that I didn't see Register, which I definitely was expecting, but we do see the Daxbone because it pretty much was a gouging fight entirely. There is also the Urshifu, there's the Rotom, the Slowking of course, Swampert, which I assume is gonna be for hazards and momentum, and then Driftwind just in case of default. So yeah, turn 1, my opponent switches in Dachbone as I wanted to Will-O-Wisp, which unfortunately ends up giving my opponent +2 to defense, and then they end up using Baton Pass, which unfortunately is illegal because Baton Pass is only allowed if it's Dry Baton Pass, aka not passing any boosts or any special effects such as Ingrain or stuff like that. So unfortunately they do end up doing that, but it wasn't intended, but it unfortunately ends up giving their Rotom a +2 defense. Now this doesn't really matter in the long scheme of things, but regardless I end up going into watching into the Volt Switch, which does put Urshifu in front of watching, so that's not the best. So they decide to double into Rotom as I go into Skarmory, which was pretty good, pretty smart. They Volt Switch again as I go into Espeon, and that makes me take a bit more damage than I expected, than I would have wanted. So now Espeon is pretty chipped down and in front of Dribbling, and I don't want any more chip damage than necessary, so I decide to go back into watching as I see Dribbling going for a Calm Mind, and I realize that if this is a setup variant, I am very much in danger having watching in front of it. They go for another Calm Mind as I go for a Dark Pulse, which ends up being a critical hit, a pretty big critical hit, so I am sorry about that. But that also ends up rocking their weakness policy, and now I am even more in danger than I was before. I Tera Fairy in order to resist like Air Slash, well not resist but rather get rid of the weakness from Air Slash or Icy Wind or anything like that. But they end up using Strength Sap, going for a little bit of healing, as I go for another Dark Pulse, which doesn't do enough to KO. They go for an Air Slash, which ends up missing, and that was pretty big. I did feel very bad about that. We do end up getting the KO on Driftling, but they were also fishing for the flinch with the Air Slash, so after that I didn't feel so bad, you know. Then Slowking comes in. I switch out expecting the Sludge Bomb, but they predict that and they actually go for Fire Blast this turn, predicting the Skarmory switching, I assume. It does do a lot of damage, it burns Espeon, and it makes me consume the berry, so Espeon is now very chipped down. I decide to go for a Calm Mind, but unfortunately the Sludge Bomb and the burn damage is enough to take it out. And now we go into Typhlosion, and now Urshifu is in, as we go for a Sunny Day, because I didn't want to go for a Will-O-Wisp and end up giving Daxbone another +2 boost to defense and repeat what happened in turns 1 or 2. Then we go into Skarmory as it goes for a Sucker Punch. It switches out into Rotom, so I take that opportunity to set up spikes. Then I figured I already have one layer of spikes and I would rather not take any chip damage on anything else, so I decide to give my opponent some damage on Skarmory, and as they go for a Volt Switch, I use Whirlwind to send out the Slowking into the Swampert. Swampert takes a bit of chip damage and it reveals Leftovers. And now with Leftovers, now that I know it's not Rainbow Berry, Typhlosion's Solar Beam is actually pretty good against it, if I do manage to get it. So I go into Tsarina first to scare it out, and now we have Tsarina in front of Rotom, which is one of the scenarios that I wanted in order to set up with Tsarina. So first I go for the rapid spin as they go for Tera still, and this is where shit starts going down because it goes for Toxic. And if you're confused about that, believe me that I was also very confused, because as far as I was aware, Rotom didn't have Toxic this generation. So now one of my win conditions is severely crippled by that Toxic. I still end up using Swagger to get that +2 attack from the Mirror Hair, and then it goes for a Default to get rid of that Spite, which again surprised me because as far as I was aware, Rotom didn't have Default this generation. So to clarify a bit on what was going on, the matches are meant to take place in the Generation 9 draft format, right? Well, the thing is, my opponent prepped under the Generation 9 National Dex draft, which does give a lot of mons a lot of different moves that they shouldn't have under the format we are playing. And that's why we have things such as Toxic on Rotom as well as Default. Things are starting to look pretty downhill right now, as I do go for a high jump kick, but they end up switching for Dax Bomb to soak up that hit, so it doesn't do as much damage as I hoped. We do start noticing the Toxic damage ramping up. Then Dax Bomb goes for a Protect in order to stall Serena a bit more, make her take a little bit more damage and get some leftovers recovery. I go for a triple axel. We do get a crit on the second hit, but it doesn't end up doing quite as much as I wanted. As it goes for a wish, and Serena being so close to death means that I very much didn't want her to just die like that. So I end up going into the Primarina. So Daxbone is back to quite a bit of health. As I end up going for Light Screen, which was a bit of a weird thing given the current scenario, but at this point I was kind of backed into a corner, so I decided that I needed to force some progression. I end up going for Flip Turn then to pivot out into Typhlosion, and I take Fire Blast to the face from that. I guess they were hoping for Skarmory again. Then I go for a Sunny Day into the Swampert, and possibly to scout for the Solar Beam, they end up switching into Rotom. A pretty good move because I do end up going for Solar Beam, which unfortunately doesn't do as much. Then I decide to go for another Solar Beam as they go into Daxbone, expecting me to go for a fire move against the Tera Steel Rotom. Instead they get a Solar Beam that does quite a bit of damage. Then they go for Protect. I Solar Beam again, which doesn't work. And now, expecting them to switch out, I actually go for a Flamethrower, which gives them another defense boost, and they end up using Baton Pass to send in the Urshifu, which now has a +2 defense. You know what, just take the Daxbone, just kill the dog, but by this time, my Sunny Day has run out, so I actually end up wasting my Power Herb on killing the dog, which, very not ideal. So now Swampert is in, and I don't have a way to hit the Solar Beam on Swampert. So I end up going into Tsarina, sacking it to the Flip Turn. I did have to leave the match for a bit because, real life stuff. Now that I'm back, Urshifu comes in, Tsarina has been sacked, I bring in Watching. As they send in Rotom, I go back into Skarmory. Skarmory goes down to a Volt Switch, so that's very unfortunate. I no longer have a way to chip down Urshifu. So I go into Primarina. I expected them to switch out for the Moonblast, so I take this chance to get my two screens. I do get the Sludge Bomb Poison, very annoying. And now I go for a Flip Turn again and go into Watching, hoping to start setting up. um, just to scout, I do end up going back into Primarina, because they were going to use Toxic and I didn't want watching to be Toxic. But that unfortunately also wastes 2 of my screen turns, so that wasn't exactly the best. Now they go for a default, which gets rid of my screens, so very not ideal. I go for a sunny day as Typhlosion gets Toxic. Then Swampert comes in on the Flamethrower. I don't know why I didn't Solar Beam on that one. But yeah, it comes in on that. Then I bring in Watching, but they hard switch into Rotom. I go back to Typhlosion, and as they go for another Volt Switch, and I'm getting very cheap down, and I decide to go for an attack this time. For a Will-O-Wisp, expecting Urshifu to Sucker Punch. We do end up burning the Swampert, and now Typhlosion has been taking a lot of toxic damage, so they pretty much die this turn. So I decide to get one last Sunny Day, as they manage to get off Stealth Rocks. So very annoying again. We bring in Watching again. We go for a Growth, so we get a +2 special attack. And then there's the Toxic again, so now Watching is very much on a timer. Very annoying, missing the Leaf Storm, that's pretty much whatever, because now the cards are in place for them to win, because Watching is Toxic, it's been put on a timer. I can't set up with Watching because then it will start ramping up the toxic damage, and I can't break through the team fast enough to win without losing to toxic damage. So yeah, pretty much fucked from here. I go for a Giga Drain, hoping to get some healing. They go into Slowking. So now I decide to go for a Dark Pulse, as they go for a Sludge Bomb that does a lot of damage, and Watching is pretty much almost dead, so Giga Drain takes Slowking down, but then Watching dies to toxic damage, and then my only piece left is a Primarina, which doesn't have a single bit of offense in it, so all that's left is to just let Primarina die, fighting off Moonblast, which is the hardest hitting thing, and then Swampert comes in, Primarina takes poison damage, and Primarina dies to Earthquake. So with this, my opponent will have got a 3-0 win, but because they prepped in an illegal format, and because we played in an illegal format, which gave my opponent the upper hand from having Rotom have Toxic and Default, it was deemed that I will get the 3-0 win instead because of that, which sucks, but as nice of a battle as it was, and as well as they played, they did use moves that were not allowed because of their preparation being in a different format, so they decided to end up giving me the 3-0 win to me instead. So with this, we are 1 win that should not have been a win, and 1 lose. So, this season is going a bit strange, to say the least. So yeah, that's what I meant when I said a lot of shit happened. I'm sorry if the post commentary sucked. I am really not used to this shit. It's still very much improvised. I do not have a script for these things, but I still wanted to record and upload the video, just to, have it there. So if you watch this till this point, thank you very much for watching. I'm very sorry if the match didn't live up to expectations. I hope that the next week goes much better. I hope that all the shit that's going on gets solved, so I can focus more on providing some at least decent quality content, I guess. Thank you for watching. That's gonna be all for this week, and bye bye.